right, fellow babies, welcome back to Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. We appreciate your patronage if you're watching real time as a Patreon patron or as a YouTube subscriber. If you are doing either of those, or if you're not, please try to remember to link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch Prime account. That's in the show description right below this picture. That'll help us. We get paid. It costs you nothing, not a zero. So please remember to do it. You have to do it each month. So if you haven't done it in a while, then it's probably time to relink. And again, it's really easy to do.
This episode of Pachter Factor is brought to you by DeShazer Ryan Realty. Right now, Doug DeShazer has beautiful lots available adjacent to Koocanusa Lake in northwest Montana. Pull up your RV and access the hookups, or build your own construction. Either way, you have access to world-class fishing, hunting, boating, swimming, biking, hiking, and the internet. No matter where you're looking to buy, make Doug DeShazer your real estate consultant at 406-291-1643. That's Doug DeShazer at 406-291-1643.
Today's question from YouTube from Paprika Stoudy? Paprika Stouday? I have no idea what that means. I know what paprika is. Why do you think the industry isn't concerned about preservation? A new study says that 87% of all classic video games are officially unavailable right now. Famous directors like Martin Scorsese and scientific institutions fund the curation of film, but game preservation has little support. What a great question. Is it a profit deal, as you always say? If so, why aren't other art forms equally deterred? Will there ever be a criterion collection for games? How can the right people be convinced that games are art worth preserving? I just was with Chris Melisinos, who works for Amazon, and who's kind of an evangelist, but this is his passion, game preservation, which is a charitable thing. It's not an Amazon thing. Obviously, I think Amazon cares because Chris cares. Honestly, until this question, I wouldn't have known the 87% figure. I get that all the defunct video game companies may have lost those files. And I get that prior to true digitization, where everything's on like a server somewhere in the cloud, you would lose the access, like the original E.T. game. I don't know if that's even available anywhere, but which is on cartridges buried in the desert. I think it is a problem, and I think it's sad. We obviously have stuff like Pong, and Brick Breaker, but I think it's sad. I think that a lot of games, the format just didn't lend itself to preservation, but I think it was thoughtlessness. I don't think it was profit. I think that nobody thought about it. There is an entity called the Strong Museum that's really big into this, into preservation, and they reach out to all old, gray-haired guys from the games industry, asking them if they have anything that can be preserved. And they've had a tremendous amount of success with some of the founders, the Nolan Bushnells of the world, who actually do have a lot of this stuff. I don't think you should worry about it for anything since 2000, because I think all that stuff is there's digital copies. Anything probably since 95. Anything since the PlayStation, where we put stuff on either on some type of digital media, either the CD or the DVD or the Blu-ray. But yeah, the stuff from the 70s to 1995, it's very much haphazard, and I don't know. There's nothing you can do if it's really gone. It's sad. I never thought about this in the 70s and 80s, but I would expect there is a person out there who has every game. Not one person, every game. Somebody has it. And you read, I forgot what the game was. Was it Atari, or it was an NES game that sold for like tens of thousands of dollars recently. There are people who have a pristine copy of every game. Somebody has one. And so 1,000 different people have 1,000 different games. If there was ever a concerted effort to track those down and find them and restore them, I think we could probably get, 80 of the 87% that are lost. But that's a big task. So I don't know what to do. I mean, I think that the Strong Museum cares for sure in Rochester, New York. and they have pretty good funding. If you're interested, if you're ever in Rochester, go to it. It's a museum of play, but they have a video game wing, and it's really, really impressive. And one of the big sponsors is Nintendo. So I'd say that probably everything Nintendo's ever made is available. I don't think Nintendo would ever let that stuff go, and I think knowing them, that they have digitized copies of everything. But yeah, I don't know how consumers get it. Will we ever have somebody reproduce it and sell it? It's a good question. I don't know. Do people want to play Pong? You know, I remember when there was this fad in the 2000s of these little mini consoles. Do you remember those? And I think we just had Nintendo did one a few years ago. That you could play old games. There was a little mini Atari console, and Majesco did them. They sold like a little fad item, and they were fun, but you know, you get tired of it after a while. You play Pong for about an hour, and you're kind of over it. You know, there's not like you're going to master Pong. Tetris different. You know, obviously it keeps getting faster and faster and gets hard, but I don't think there's as much appetite for those classic games as you might think, but I still think it's instructive for people to play them and see what they were like and see the art form. And it's absolutely important that we preserve them. So I'm hopeful the Strong Museum figures it out. I am positive that we're going to protect things going forward. I am hopeful that we have libraries of content from guys like Sega and Nintendo that preserve their content. The question is, did EA keep everything it made? Probably. But how about the defunct guys? Just 3DO? What happened to that stuff? Probably gone. So again, I don't know the answer. If there is that guy, it's an old timer, but it might be like a Randy Pitchford. I mean, there are guys who actually care about the industry. What's Warren's last name?
Spector.
Yeah, Warren Spector is one of those guys. I actually think some of the less old guys like Mike Morheim are like that. I think that there's a lot of respect for the industry and a lot of nostalgia. But they're working still. I mean, when they're not working and they don't have a full-time job, few of these guys are as wealthy as a Scorsese is. But I think there's an appetite for it, and I think you'll see somebody in the games industry step up. I'd really like to see it be like the trade group, though. I'd like to see it like be the ESA, to take a lead and make it a priority, and they should. It's good for everybody to have that nostalgia, and I think the reason I brought up the Strong is I think it takes a museum to make it relevant that there actually is an interest for people to play those games and see that stuff. Like, I would love a museum that just had every arcade machine ever made. Like, that's cool, and doesn't happen. It should, but it hasn't happened yet. Thank you guys who are Patreon patrons and YouTube subscribers for keeping us in business. For those of you who are neither of those two things, if you have Amazon Prime, please remember to link your Prime account to your Twitch Prime account, and the instructions are below. You may have to open up a Twitch Prime account, but it costs nothing. Link those two things, and Amazon, for some crazy reason, pays SIFTD so you can watch me. So that's awesome. So help us out, please, because we need the support. We've seen that drop a lot because it lapses. You've got to renew it. So if you've ever done it before, it's easy to do again. Please remember to do it.